Let's talk about Bitcoin and 2026. Because, wow, what a year it's shaping up to be. It feels like we're in the middle of a perfect storm, right? You've got these really promising signals on the charts, huge shifts in the market, and then this massive wave of institutional money that could literally change the entire game.
So, what does that mean for the price? Well, that's the big debate. You've got analysts on one side screaming historic rally, while others are predicting, well, a whole lot of nothing, just stagnation. So, the real question, the one we're going to dig into, is which is it? Is Bitcoin gearing up for its biggest year ever, or is it about to hit a massive wall?
All right, let's dive into the biggest story of them all. I mean, this is the one factor that is completely changing the conversation around Bitcoin.
And it all kicks off with one pretty staggering number. $470 million. That's not a typo. That is how much money has poured into Bitcoin ETFs so far this year. And look, this isn't just hype. This is a fundamental shift in how the market works. For the very first time, big, serious investment firms can get their hands on Bitcoin without all the hassle of, actually buying and holding it themselves. This gives them a regulated, easy on-ramp for big money. And honestly, it's an absolute game changer. And you can bet the big financial analysts are all over this. I mean, you've got Grayscale, who's super optimistic, and they're pointing right at this institutional wave. Then you have Forbes and Yahoo Finance. They're also pretty bullish, but they've got this one big if. It all comes down to whether that money keeps coming. So the key takeaway here is pretty simple. The vibe is optimistic for sure, but everyone agrees that this institutional cash, that's the fuel for the fire. Now, all this institutional money is feeding directly into another really powerful idea, one that's been gaining a ton of traction lately. And that idea is this, the new digital gold. It really is the ultimate showdown, isn't it? Old versus new. In one corner, you've got gold, the classic, tried and true, safe place to put your money, a physical thing with thousands of years of history. And in the other corner, you have Bitcoin. It's digital, it's global, and it was basically built for the world we live in today. It really makes you ask a fundamental question. What does value even mean anymore in the 21st century? And hey, this isn't just some philosophical debate for Twitter. No way. Market analysts are seriously predicting that if the global economy keeps being, well, a roller coaster, Bitcoin could actually outperform gold this year. This is a real conversation that's happening in boardrooms right now. You've got these huge money managers trying to figure out the best way to protect their investments. And guess what? Bitcoin is a bigger and bigger part of that discussion. Okay, so we've talked institutions, we've talked digital gold, but there are other things going on, some less predictable forces at play. Let's call them the wild cards. And that brings us to the whales, those mysterious huge investors. Have they actually returned to Bitcoin? Yeah, let's talk about the whales for a second. There are always these rumors swirling around, right? That these massive investors are secretly scooping up tons of Bitcoin. But here's the thing. When you actually look at the data on the blockchain, the story, well, it's a little different. Sure, there's always activity, but there's no clear sign of some huge, coordinated buying frenzy happening right now. It kind of seems like this is one of those cases where the rumor is just a lot more exciting than the reality. But don't worry, there are other really interesting catalysts bubbling just under the surface. I mean, look at El Salvador. They're still pushing ahead with their bold national experiment with Bitcoin. And then there's something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, the fusion of Bitcoin and AI. Seriously, just imagine AI agents making payments to each other on a global decentralized network. And these aren't just wild ideas. These are actual developments happening that are pushing the boundaries of what Bitcoin can even be. It's way beyond just a simple store of value. Okay, so let's recap. We've got the institutional money, we've got the whole digital gold story, and we've got these wild cards like AI. So let's try to pull this all together and look at a few ways this could actually play out. When you boil it all down, you're really looking at three possible scenarios for 2026. First, the bullish one. This is pretty straightforward. The institutional money keeps flowing, Bitcoin blasts right through its old records, and we hit new all-time highs. Then there's the neutral scenario, where things kind of just cruise along. Adoption keeps happening, but without a big catalyst, the price just stays stuck in a range. And of course, you've got the bearish path. This is where the hype dies down, that ETF money dries up, and the price starts testing just how low it can go. But you see the common thread here, right? It all comes back to that institutional demand. And that really gets to the heart of the matter, which is summed up perfectly by this. So in the end, it really all boils down to one single question. Bitcoin has finally gotten Wall Street's attention. That institutional interest, it's real, it's here. But, and this is the big but, is it just interest, or is it going to turn into real, sustained, powerful demand from the rest of the market? The answer to that question, well, It's not just going to define 2026, it's probably going to define the next decade for the entire crypto world.